will trust in you. Let the weak say, I am strong in the strength of the Lord. Ya Rabbu صخرتي إليك صرختي فأنت مخلصي في ضعف قوتي أقول ثابت قلبي ثابت قلبي في ضعفي سأسمع تكفيك نعمتي. I will trust in you. I will trust in you. Let the weak say, I am strong in the strength of the Lord. I will trust in you. You are my hiding place. You always fill my heart with songs of deliverance. Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. Let the weak say, I am strong in the strength of the Lord. I will trust in you.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight, I guess. This is the St. Augustine meeting. It's actually an Arabic meeting, but we took over it just to take the blessing. And also because we got a guest speaker, of course, as you guys seen. We have Justin Michael, and Justin the therapist. He'll tell you more about himself as we go. But we would like to welcome you and his wife, Sarah, who flew all the way from Mississauga, leaving their church and leaving their family to come and to be with us and to give us an insight. And he'll tell you more. I don't want to break this. He has a better introduction for himself than me, but we would like to welcome Justin and Sarah, and I also want to welcome you and thank you for all who registered. It's a series of talks that we're going to start. We started it off for the youth with a separate talk than this. It was just how to find the ideal partner. And then here we are, we're talking about what's the important stuff. Parenting. I think most of us all here are parents or future parents or parents that have older children. It doesn't matter, but at any stage of our life, we always, as parents, we want to be better parents. And we want to seek different ways and different things to do and to better ourselves. So I hope that we, today, by the way, Justin has asked me that all of you, if you can take a chance, the menti.com, the Mentimeter, please fill out the survey because he will use it during our presentation. We'll play one more song, I guess, just so you guys can fill, or are all filled the survey? Because I just want to get, no one is even up, yes or no. Everyone filled the survey or not yet? That's just like 10. Okay, so we'll do another song for the rest of you guys to fill out the survey. And then after the song, The floor is. Do you guys have another song? Oh, no, okay. And by the way, it's the talk is always good with the songs. Now, thank God you guys are here. So please, Vivian and Rafet, if we can do one more song, and then Justin, the floor is yours. Okay. تفضلوا حبايبي.
When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. ارفعني معك على الجبال، أكون وياك على الأمواج، كتفك يشيل عني الأحمال، حبك يا ربي فوق الخيال. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger. Each restless heart beats so imperfectly. But when you come and I am filled with wonder, sometimes I think I glimpse eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. raise me up to more than I can be.
I don't usually like to clap, but this is your hit home. Please, guys, just a couple of things. We're going to get started. I just want you to come forward, please. You're going to hear it from him too, so it's better to hear it from me than to hear it from a stranger. But if you want to hear from a stranger, go for it. But please, whoever's sitting in the back, please come sit as front as you can. And please welcome Justin, and the floor is yours, Justin. Thank you, Baba. God bless you, Habib.
Let's see. Hi, everybody. Ooh, that's loud. All right, can you all hear me? Yes? I can't hear you, and I won't be able to hear you if you ask any questions. So, those in the back and those on the sides, I ask you with all humility and kindness to please, please come closer so we can all be together. Yes, yes, you can do it. It's okay. Oh, hi everybody online. Okay, wonderful. So, thank you. I want to thank you so much for being here today. It's Friday night. You've worked 5 days, maybe more, and you're probably tired, especially if you have kids. You just want to break, maybe just want to relax. But you decided to come here today. And the kids are in Sunday school or youth group? Bible study. And you're even going so far to put them in Bible study and Sunday school. And so, you're doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you to our fathers, the priests, for bringing me here. It is an honor for me to be here. So I want to do my very best to give you what you want today. So to start, I have this survey that, I guess just this survey right here. Has everyone had a chance to fill out the survey? Yes, on your phones? Okay, I hope so. If you haven't, please open the survey. At the very least, if you don't want to fill out the survey, what you can do is you can use this survey. There's a button at the bottom of every question where you can ask a question. So I'm going to be talking to you today about a lot of stuff. And you can ask a question to me out loud if you want. No problem. You can lift up your hand in the middle. Also at the end, there will be time for you to ask me questions. So if you want to leave the question for the end, no problem. But here's the really fun part. With this survey, you can ask a question completely anonymously. Okay? So no one will know that you asked a specific question. I won't even know who asked the question. And that's your way to ask questions, in private. And I'll answer them publicly. So please feel free to keep that link. And also, my goal is to do really good talks. So I'm not a perfect presenter, I'll never be, and that's okay. But you can give me feedback on what I can do in the future to give a better presentation. So the very last slide is feedback. So please feel free to give me feedback. All right? Okay, sounds good. So let's begin. We will begin. Oh, that's why. There we go. So, you are all parents, or most of you are parents, so today I'm going to be talking about a very interesting topic, to shelter or foster. It'll all make sense in the end, don't worry. I'll give you a little background information on who I am. So, believe it or not, I am Egyptian, and I am Coptic. I know I don't really look like it, but it's okay. Abuna asked me to show evidence last night. I showed him my 23andMe, my DNA results, and he's like, okay, I will let you in the church. I'm just kidding. But I did show him my DNA results. He did see it. I grew up in Mississauga, in Ontario, in the church, and my name is Justin, and I'm a therapist, so I call myself Justin the Therapist. I did a lot of research. I did too much school, but if this is something that interests you, I did 2 master's degrees. First one in social and personality psychology. My research was in cultural psychology, especially in regards of divorce and families of divorce. And then my second master's degree was in couple and family therapy. And I did more research on divorce there too. And I am a registered psychotherapist. That means I'm a licensed therapist in Ontario. I think you have some sort of equivalent here in Alberta. And I'm also a registered marriage and family therapist. So essentially, this is me to share that I am a therapist that specializes in marriages and families and parenting and relationships. That's my area of expertise. And I also, feel free if you want, you can connect with me on social media anyway, if you want to chat or anything. Just look up Justin the Therapist. I also have a practice called Building Bridges Psychotherapy. And Building Bridges Psychotherapy, I'm very proud of our little logo there. You can see the special sign. And we are an extremely diverse group of therapists. We have over 45 therapists. Lots of them are Coptic as well. We are one of the biggest practices in Ontario. And we do individual therapy, we do couple therapy, and most importantly, we do family therapy, where we work with parents and kids to help the family. And we have several locations in Ontario, Mississauga and Guelph, Vaughan, Toronto, but we also do therapy remotely, okay? So I know you're like, okay, I don't like this guy, you know, he has this blue suit coming all the way here from Ontario. No one likes Ontario. But if you wanted therapy, you could do therapy remotely. And maybe one day we'll come and offer therapy here. And of course, feel free to connect with us on social media, BB Therapy. I also wanted to mention one quick thing as well, is affordable therapy. So with all the expenses you have as parents, you know, sometimes therapy is very expensive. Maybe you have benefits, maybe you don't, but therapy can be expensive. For me, my value is I never want money to be the reason that someone doesn't get therapy. So this is why I created Affordable Therapy Ontario, and the website is affordabletherapyontario.com. And the way this works is that you can basically pay whatever you want to pay for therapy, and we'll match you with a therapist that can help you, okay? Even family therapy, even couple therapy. And again, it's not just for Ontario. Let's pretend it's Affordable Therapy Alberta, okay? Because if you were to go to affordabletherapyalberta.com, it'll go to our website. So we got you covered, all right? So that's a little bit about who I am. Now, let's get to know you, because I'm assuming you all filled out the survey. So let's check this out. Aha, there we go. Will it work? Okay, so I asked you to fill out this survey. Let's see what you said. So I asked you, how many children do you have? And it looks like most of you have 2 kids, 15 of you. Some of you have more, some of you have less. Some of you have none. This is a very, it's a nice distribution. Okay, then I asked you, how old are your children? Select all that apply. So it looks like a lot of you have kids between the ages of 4 years old all the way to 17 years old. Some of you have older kids, some of you have very young kids. But most of you have kids in the challenging years, the transition years. So this is going to really work. Okay. Then I asked you, how long have you been in Canada? It looks like a lot of you have been here for a third of your life, some of you half of your life, and then a lot of you most of your life. Some of you were born here, and some of you just came a year ago. Okay, so good range. That's interesting. All right. And then I asked you, what are you hoping to get out of this presentation? So let's see what you said. See if I'm a capable parent. You are a capable parent, whoever you are. All right? Better communication, better connection, better parent, skills for relationship fitness, conflict resolution, how to create healthy support system for your partner, direction, practical tips, communication with partner. So today we're talking about parenting. We're not going to be talking about romantic relationships, but if you want, you're always welcome to attend the talks tomorrow and Sunday. We'll talk a lot more about your marriage and your romantic relationship. Today is about parenting. Dealing with teenagers, especially boys, how to kindly parent children, how to connect as a couple while being parents. That's an excellent topic. We won't talk about that today, unfortunately. How to deal with my kid in the LGBTQIA2S question mark. In which age should I try to talk with my kid about that? We won't talk about that, but sort of. Let's see, how to deal with a problem in this world going on, warm failing guidance for fostering resilience in our children, improving relationships, equipping to be in the world but not of the world. We'll talk about that in a way. Let's see, how to lead them closer to Christ. Find the balance between love and discipline. We'll talk about that a little bit. Oh, you provided so many excellent answers. Okay. I will definitely check this out later. Oh, wow, there's so much. This is amazing. Okay, so a couple of you have brought up LGBTQ. We won't really be talking about that today, but I appreciate you bringing up lots of great stuff. So, I asked you, how important is it to protect our kids from the world? And it looks like overwhelmingly, you said 7 out of 7, extremely important. Okay, yes. How important is it for kids to have freedom? Interestingly, a lot of you said extremely important, maybe not as much as protect kids, the previous question, but then there was a little bit of a curve in the middle. Okay. And then I asked, I asked you, what have you tried to do to help your kids that has not worked? And this is a word cloud, so it basically combines the answers that are the most popular ones. So we have yelling as the most common response, the most common thing you've tried that doesn't work. Okay, I think the talk is over. Now you know what not to do. You don't have to yell anymore. Okay, this is what has not worked. It's borders and religious roles, scold, speaking with anger, punishments, time out, freedom. Okay, I think maybe some of you have answered like what did work. Guilt them, affection. Okay, compare. Okay, yeah, rewards. Okay, what have you tried to do to help your kids that has worked? Okay. Some of the most common answers are love and coaching. And then you've provided a bunch of other answers as well. Speak at their level, support, calm-mannered, help them to get a job, positive consequences, rationalizing, answers any questions they have, connecting to the church, choosing the right time, be yourself. Oh, these are all great answers. Well done. Okay. Okay, another question. If you could change one thing about your child's life, what would it be? Let's see what you put. Understanding the power of choice, better role models for them, talk softly and be more calm, more confidence for my daughter, improve self-esteem, connect to church extremely, help them to have a warm family, encourage them in sports, be grateful for what they have, ability to listen, manage emotions. Oh, great answers. All right. Okay, so here we are. This slide right here is the question slide. So again, feel free to keep this survey open. You can ask questions. I'll answer them at the end. But you can also lift your hand up anytime and I'll answer them. All right? So we'll get to this at the end. Let's go back to the presentation. So, how did you find that exercise of using the survey? You can give it thumbs up, thumbs down. You could be honest. Yeah, okay. Appreciate the honesty. All right, that's good. So, children are a precious gifts from God. Let's start with Scripture. What does it say in the Bible? So, in the Psalms, David says, "Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward." Right? It's a gift from God. Matthew, Christ says, "If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea." Okay? And then also in Proverbs, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Okay, so it's very important to train them properly. So, what does this teach us? Giving our children the best life is not just something good to do, it's a commandment, right? Basically, parenting them properly is a commandment. Do you all agree? Yes? No? Yes, it is a commandment, right? And I'm not here to tell you that you know this already. This is why you're here. You care so much about your children that you want what's best for them, right? Okay. A lot of you have mentioned the world in what you want to get out of this presentation, right? So what do you think when you think of the world? Feel free to put your hand up or just talk out loud. Any ideas? What do you think of? Huh? Scary, yes. The world is scary, yes. Feel free to come closer if you want, if it's not too scary. See what I did there? All right. Yes. Anyone else? What comes to mind when you think of the world? Scary, what else? Peer pressure, yeah? Dishonest, yes. And what'd you say? Complicated, yeah. Any other thoughts? Out of their control, absolutely. Any other thoughts? Huh? Temporary. Yes, the world is temporary, right? Yes. Stressful? Distracting. Yes. Anything else? Controlled by evil. The world, yes. Great segue to what I think about when I think of the world is, do you know a part in our traditions that we mention the world a lot? Anyone? So, at the end of the Catholic epistle, right, we read, "Do not love the world or the things in the world. The world is passing away and its lust, but he who does the will of God abides forever. Amen." Do you know that part? Yeah? Okay. So, the world our kids live in. Let's talk about the world, okay? So, like you said, the world is scary, distracting, evil, etc., right? And there's probably a lot of things on your mind that you're worried about when you think of your kids and you think of the world, right? You're like, their phones, they're always on their phones, or I don't want to get them a phone because they're young, and when they do, they'll always be on their phones, and social media. Oh, there's so much evil on social media, and they'll get sucked into social media, and there's such bad influence on social media. And then maybe you're worried about video games. Maybe you have a child that is just glued to their video games. They're playing all the time. Do you know this game that's on the slide? Yes, a lot of nods, a lot of The Enemy, Fortnite, right? And then maybe you're also worried about bullying, right? There's so much horrible bullying happening in the world, especially to our kids, especially with the digital age. Now they can be bullied even outside of school, right? And maybe you're worried, this is something that a lot of the parents in Ontario talk a lot about, is about the sex ed curriculum. This stuff. And maybe you are worried also about, you mentioned this in the slide, in the survey, LGBTQ, and you're worried about that. And maybe you're worried about, them getting into university. You want them to do well in school. You're really worried about their performance, their grades. And maybe you're worried about, promiscuity. Maybe they're teenagers or they're young adults, and you're worried about what they're doing. And maybe you're worried that they might get a disease or an unwanted pregnancy. And maybe you're worried about some of the most horrible things in the world, like, child slavery and child prostitution and stuff like that, right? We hear horrible things that do happen in the world. So when you think of the world, it's like, I have my child and I'm really scared. I'm really worried and I want what's best for my kid. Does that make sense? Yeah? Do you feel that? Does that resonate with you? So, we have an equation here, right? We first established that children are precious, right? Children are precious gifts from God that we need to give them what's best. And the world is scary, right? You even said it yourselves. The world is scary. So what do we do if we have precious kids and then we have a world that is scary? What do? We protect them, right? Protect them. We protect the kids, right? This is good. If you notice that you protect your children, that's good. You're doing excellent, right? The idea is we protect what is precious to us, right? Who here has one of these furniture, these things at home, right? I grew up with this, right? Where, we have the china that we eat on, the plastic ones that you get from Walmart or Costco, and then you have the nice ones that you never use. They're just on display, and, my mom is like, don't touch them, don't even open it, don't even look at it, you might break it, right? Stay away from this, no playing ball in this room, nothing, right? Sorry? It's a minefield, exactly. It's delicate, right? It's precious. It's the gift she got when she got married, decades ago. And, we do this, and it makes sense, and we also do this in church. We have very precious relics, right? We have relics here, relics there, relics here, and relics there. Relics of the saints. These are irreplaceable. You can't find this at Costco, right? This is precious, the relics of our saints of the church. What do? We put them... I haven't done it. This is obviously the priests, they do this. But they wrap them, and then they put them in a wooden case, and then they wrap the wooden case, and they pad it, and then they put it in another case, and it's, we just touch it very gently. But it's precious, right? Right? It's kind of like, even in other species, like you have the hen that will protect its chicks. And it's just like the verse that we talk about on Palm Sunday, right? So, we protect what is precious to us. So my question for you now is, how do you actually go about protecting your children? What do you think? What are some ways that you protect your children? You're experts at this. Yes, okay, informing them, right? Absolutely. What else? How do you protect them from the world? Because they're so precious. Rules, yes. Awesome. What else? Sorry? Teaching them about God. Yes, yes. All right, what else? What are some other ways you do? Yes. Direction. Yes. What else? Yes. Connection to church. Yes, yes. What else do you do? What are some actual, practical things that you do to protect them? Being selective with who they hang out with. Yes, absolutely. What else? Sorry? Creating responsibility. Okay, yes, that's a good way to, yes. Making sure you have a good relationship with them, with good communication. Okay, yeah. If you want, by the way, feel free to come closer so I can hear you better. Yeah. Everyone, feel free to come closer. It's okay. I showered. I guarantee it should be fine. Okay? All right. Thank you. Any other ways that you protect your kids? Yes. Sorry? I feel really bad. I can't hear you. Firewalls? Okay. Internet firewalls. You got your SSID and your DSL router. Okay, yeah. Feel free to come closer if you want. It's okay. Anyone else? Yes. Honesty. Okay, yes. What else? Yeah. Oh, no, that's a child. Okay, teach them about their culture. They'd be proud of their culture. Anyone else want to say anything before I talk about my ideas about how you protect your kids? How we protect our kids? No? Yes. Let them make mistakes. Okay. Who here is comfortable with letting kids make mistakes? Okay, some, but not. But who here is not comfortable with letting kids make mistakes? Okay. All right. So here are some ideas I have about how we protect our kids, okay? First of all, we monitor, right? We keep track of where they are, right? Everyone knows, okay, where are the kids? Oh, the kids are in this room. Oh, they're at this person's house. Oh, they're at school. Or they get an air tag or something, or they get a device where they can see where they are on the map. Or maybe they're checking their phones, what they're looking at, what apps do they have, all that kind of stuff. So we check their location. We also check who's their friends, right? Who are the people that they want to spend time with? What are they doing? How are they interacting? Who are they interacting with? What are they saying? What are they doing, right? So we monitor. We also limit, right? We put limits, right? We might say, you can be friends with this person, but not this person, right? We might limit the activities that they do. You know, you can do this, but you can't do that. We might also limit, especially the older, or especially once they start reaching puberty, we might limit the romantic relationships. Say, you know, you're not allowed to date, or you're not allowed to be away past a certain time, or whatever, right? And then we also might shield them from, maybe we try and shield them from what we consider bad media, right? We don't want them to watch this. We don't want them to listen to this. We don't want them to read this, right? We also might try and shield them from bullying. We might try and shield them from getting hurt by other people. And then we may also try and protect them by fostering their focus. We try and get them to reduce spending time on things that is maybe not important. So an example is, I know a lot of times parents really, really want them to have an amazing life, right? They love them so much, and they want them to have the best life. And they know, especially if they're an immigrant, that a really good life means a good job, right? A part of a good life, not the only thing. But if you have a good job, a good career, you'll be comfortable. And so how do you get a good job and a good career? Gotta do well in school. So you know what? I don't want you to have a job. I don't want you to work part-time. I don't want it to take away from from getting good grades, from studying, right? So might, shift their focus, get them to focus on stuff, not, I don't want you to work a part-time job. I don't want you to do chores. I'll do the chores. Don't worry. You just study. You get good grades, become a doctor or something, maybe an engineer or pharmacist. And I don't want you to have to take public transit. I'll drive you. Don't worry. I'm going to make sure you have the best life. Okay? This is not every parent, of course, but, these are some ideas. Does this resonate with you? To a certain extent, some of these resonate with you? Yeah? Okay. So the question now is, are there any consequences to all of this? What do you think? Yes? What are the consequences? Yeah? When they're outside of their home, they won't be getting the same thing, even though they're expecting. They're expecting, sounds like what you're saying is, they're expecting to be treated like a child, but outside of the home, they're expected to be adults. Okay. Any other consequences? I heard someone else speak, but you're so far away, and I need hearing aids because I'm getting old. I'm just kidding. Or maybe. Dependent personalities. Okay. Yeah. Anything else? You're giving them something to rebel against. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Okay. So let's talk about rebellion. Let's talk about obedience and more specifically disobedience. So I'm going to name a cycle to you. Tell me if you agree or disagree or right? Okay. So let's say your child does something wrong, right? Your child does something wrong. What happens? I get upset. My child does something wrong, I get upset, right? And then what happens? I communicate my disapproval. I tell them, you know what? I don't like that you did that. That's not okay. And then what do? I punish. I shame. I control. This is not right. Go to your room. Give me your iPad or your Switch. Or you're not allowed to do this. Or you know what? You're forbidden from whatever. Shame on you. This is not the way you were taught. Then what happens? They never do the wrong thing ever again, right? And the talk is over. I'm glad you laugh. I'm glad you're laughing, right? Because that's not what happens, right? What happens instead? Okay, see, it's not what happens. You're like, oh yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll never do anything wrong ever again. What happens is the thing that you said is wrong, or the thing that you're taking away from them, the behavior that they're doing, it grows in value, right? Think of it this way, okay? Let's say your child has a toy, a very young child has a toy, but they're kind of bored with it, but it's, on the floor next to them. What happens if you take that toy away from them? Huh? What happens? Yeah, it's the most special toy in the world. I need it, right? And start making a fuss. And you're like, but you weren't playing with it. No, I want it. It's mine, right? Here's the thing. This is human nature. When something is taken away from us, we want it more, right? Ever experienced this before in your life? A fast food restaurant that you sometimes go, and then there's an item that they remove from the menu, and you've had it a couple times, but then you're like, oh, but why did you take it away? I like it. And it's like, when was the last time you ate that menu item, right? Something like that. So what happens is they then do that thing again, more and more. So disobedience actually increases sometimes. And you know what else happens is that my connection with my child decreases. So this cycle doesn't happen for everything, doesn't happen all the time, doesn't happen with every parent and child relationship, but have you noticed this at all ever? Sometimes. Yes, some nodding. Okay? So here's the problem. It's basically like the egg. Eggs are so precious, right? They're your egg. But if you squeeze the egg, what happens? It cracks, right? But it's important to not just be loosey-goosey with the egg and just toss it around like a tennis ball. But if we squeeze it too strongly, it cracks. So it's all about balance, right? The idea is if we tighten our grip too much, our kids will crack. And then the sad part is we can potentially, eventually lose them in terms of the relationship with our kids. Okay? So, what do you do instead? What is something you do in addition to maybe tightening the grip? This is why I'm talking about to shelter or to foster. So, let's revisit this whole idea of the world, okay, that we were talking about before, right? The world is evil. The world is the enemy, right? Here's a new idea I offer to you. You are all living in this world. You've lived in this world for decades. You all are parents, and you all have kids. You provide for your kids. How do you do it? You have a job. You have a career. You make money. You have a house. We have a church that is in the world. So the way I like to think of the world is that maybe the world is like a playing field. The world is kind of like a big soccer field. On a soccer field, you could get hurt. You could have people kicking you on the legs. A ball can hit you in the head. You could fall down. You could break an ankle. It's true. You can get hurt. It is a dangerous place. But at the same time, in a soccer field, you can score a goal. You can make friends with teammates. You can learn about hard work. You can have fun. You can have a career even playing soccer. I'm sure all of the kids want a career in soccer, but it may not happen. But some people do. So the way we can think about the world is that the world that we live in, there is danger, there is evil, and that's maybe what the verse is talking about. But the world that we live in is a world that we actually do live in. and we have to make a life in the world. So a lot can happen in the world. So the world is maybe a playing field. And so what we want to do as parents is we want to equip them with the tools so that they can succeed in the world. If there were tools that you could give them to show them how this soccer field they can score goals instead of getting injured and crying, of course we'd want to give them those tools. So, let's talk about that. It's full of tools. So, another question for you. How do you go from being an adult to a child, from being a child to an adult? Okay, let's compare adults and children. So, adults, you're adults. You all know right from wrong, correct? No. Some of the spouses are like, no, not my let's assume most of you, for the most part, know right from wrong, right? You can always attend the couple talks when we talk about marriage tomorrow and Sunday. But for kids, right from wrong is kind of unclear, right? An adult understands the consequences, right? You understand if you do this, this is going to be the consequence. If I do this, this is what's going to happen. A child, maybe not so much. They're still learning about consequences, right? So for adults, it's all about prevention. How do I prevent bad things from happening? Whereas kids, it's a lot more reaction. They're just reacting to the world. For adults, for the most part, you need little guidance. You're not kids anymore. You know what's right. But for kids, they need a lot of guidance. So, adults have learned a lot from experience. But kids, what? Sorry? They don't have any experience. They need experience. You see the difference? Kids need experience so that they can become adults. The whole point is, you made a lot of mistakes, right? Is there anyone here that can say they went through their childhood and adolescence making very few mistakes and life is good? No, you made a lot of mistakes. You look back on your life and you're like, I made a lot of mistakes. But thank God I'm here today, right? What about kids? Here's the thing. Kids need some freedom to be able to make some mistakes so that they can learn from those mistakes so that they can become future adults. Children are future adults, okay? Children are future adults. Those plates in the cabinet, they're never going to become Costco plastic plates, right? These wonderful miracle-giving relics of the saints, they're always going to be relics, right? But children are going to be the next generation. They are. They're going to be future adults. So to become adults, they need exposure, okay? Children need some exposure so that they can become future adults. It's kind of like eggs. Eggs don't stay obviously the eggs that we eat is a different story, but eggs in general, right? They need time and space and nurturement to become future birds. Has anyone ever watched The Magic School Bus? Yes? Yeah? Has anyone ever heard of The Magic School Bus? Maybe. This is a show from the 90s, right? From a long time ago. It's a very educational show, wonderful show. I really enjoyed it, and I think it has a very excellent message. The teacher, basically the whole idea is it's a class, and then the teacher brings the kids on these field trips in the Magic School Bus, and the Magic School Bus gets to go and explore the world, and they get to learn hands-on. It's a very educational show. The teacher, her name was Miss Frizzle, and the teacher had a saying that I hold dear till this day. Does anyone know what saying that is? No? So, I'll tell you. Miss Frizzle was famous for saying, take chances, make mistakes, and get messy. She was a teacher. Take chances, make mistakes, get messy. Maybe we would prefer to say, sit down, study, get good grades. Right? Sit down, stop running around, sit down, study, get good grades. But she's the teacher, and she's saying, take chances, make mistakes, get messy. This is how we learn. This is how we grow. This image that I just put up here, it's a young girl in mud. For some people, this might be very uncomfortable. Is there anyone here that'd be uncomfortable with this image? I'm uncomfortable with this image, right? Letting your kid play in mud. So I put this image here because this whole idea of exposing your kids to mess, to mistakes, is not just something this, guy in this blue blazer comes from Ontario and says, like, who is this guy, right? It's also science, okay? There's been studies. So this study here, I'm not going to read it to you, obviously, but I'm going to explain it to you. The study is basically that children who are exposed early on in their life to bacteria, to germs, they have better immune systems than kids who are not exposed to bacteria and germs at a young age, right? How does that make sense, right? It's like bacteria and germs cause harm, so why wouldn't we want to protect them from that? But when they're exposed to those things, their bodies learn to fight infection. And I think it's the same thing with other things in our life, in life too, not just biology. Okay? So, if we revisit this equation that we had in the beginning, that children are precious and the world is scary, therefore we need to protect children, which is true. It's not a bad thing to protect kids. Please don't leave here saying, I don't like this Justin guy. He told us to abandon our kids to the world. That's not what I'm saying. Please continue to protect your kids. That's a wonderful thing. But a new way of seeing it is also that children are future adults and the world is a playing field. So that means we can protect children and we can foster growth by exposure, by allowing them to make some mistakes, by allowing them to get messy, and then they can grow into future adults. Okay? This is the thesis. This is the point I'm trying to make, okay? So, let's revisit this cycle of disobedience. You remember the cycle of disobedience? Okay. Let's start again. The child does something wrong. I get upset, understandably, right? And then I tell them, I do not like what you did. This is not okay. I communicate my disapproval. And then, here's something new you could try. Not every time, not for everything, but you could try it and see. So you do not stop them necessarily from doing this. And then, their life is completely ruined, and then they die, and then you're a horrible parent, right? No, I'm just kidding. I hope you know that's a joke, because that's not going to happen. No, what happens is they get hurt. They made a mistake. They get hurt. And then what happens is they learn from their mistakes. And then what happens is they might do something wrong again, but they continue to learn from their mistakes, just like you all learn from your mistakes. And then eventually, they start to choose to stop doing the wrong thing because they've learned from their mistakes. Okay? And then this whole disobedience starts to go down. But you know what's the nice thing? Is that your connection with them, your relationship with your child, improves. Okay? Okay. Any thoughts or questions so far? I have a little bit left to talk about, but I'm going to have a sip of water. Because I just said a bunch of stuff. This is not applicable to everything. So, for the streaming, you said this can't be applicable to everything. Obviously, there's a difference between keeping your room clean and touching fire, right? Completely agree. Completely agree. Here's the thing about fire, though, right? What happens when a child reaches for a fire? Huh? Yeah? They burn? It's an automatic reaction that happens in your spine. This is the psychology, the neuroscience in me. There's a reaction that if you touch something that is really hot, that sends signals to your spine that automatically retracts your hand, and it doesn't even go through your brain and then back to your hand, because it's something that it's an adaptation we have to keep us alive. It's so quick. It's an automatic reaction. So even fire, they will learn not to touch the fire. But yes, I get the idea, right? It doesn't apply to everything. And that's the thing. It doesn't apply to every age either, right? So you have an infant. You're not going to be like, all right, infant, it's time to get a job. Go and learn what hunger is, so that maybe if you are hungry enough, you're going to learn to go and get a job. No, it's an infant. You're obviously going to take care of it, right? But if you have a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old or a 30-year-old, you're not going to be like, hey, it's okay, here's some food. Okay, here's some milk, not from me. Here's some food, and here's some, here's everything you need, right? I'm going to give you everything you need so that you can have an amazing life, okay? Just sit at home and be happy. I'll take care of you. No, you're going to want them to go and make a life for themselves, right? So we can all agree that there's a difference in age, right? The older they are, the more we want them to be adults. The younger they are, the more we want to protect them and take care of them. Does that make sense? Right? So I like to think of it as there's differences in time. Obviously, the younger they are, that's when we want to shelter them the most. But the older they are, we stop sheltering them, right? We don't want to shelter our adult kids. We want them to be adults and shelter their own kids. And in terms of fostering, in terms of letting them make their own decisions, the younger they are, we don't want to do that. But then the older they are, obviously, we let them make their own decisions. We want them to go and spread their wings and fly, right? We can all agree on the two extremes of ages, right? But here's the thing. This part, the middle part, that's the hard part. That's the part where probably a lot of you are in right now with your kids, where it's like, okay, I've been sheltering them for several years, but they're starting to grow. At what point do I start to let them, make some decisions? And then it's kind of like, sometimes you try and see, what is it like if I give them some freedom? And what is it like if I don't? So I want to acknowledge that this middle part is the hardest part. And if you're struggling because your kids are in that middle part, they're not 25, but they're not like 2, it's understandable if you're struggling, because it is hard. But eventually the goal is that they can spread their wings and fly on their own. So, does that resonate with you so far? Yeah? Questions? Yes. Whoever would like to go first. Yeah. Right. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yes. Great question. So you're talking about consequences. So for the streaming, what I heard was For some things there are natural consequences, like they don't wear a helmet, they could fall and slip and they'll hurt themselves and they'll learn, you know what, I should wear a helmet. But other times they may do something where there isn't a natural consequence. What do you do? So I think it's important in those moments to use your parental judgment about implementing artificial consequences. So it's helpful too if the artificial consequences you implement mirror what they might experience in the real world in the future, right? So an example is, let's say you caught them lying about something, right? Now, they lied to someone and maybe, or they lied to you, and there's no, police that's going to come on their door and say, okay, you lied, you're going to jail now. But hypothetically, if lying grows and grows and grows, they could be sued for fraud or something like that, or convicted of some sort of a felony that had to do with fraud. Hypothetically, right? This is just an example. So it makes sense to implement these consequences that might mirror what they might go through. But more importantly, I think it's beneficial to explain why there are consequences for things like this, why it is wrong, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that more in the future too. That's a great question. You had another question? Or you had a... Yeah. Well, lying is maybe not the best example because you can't force them to tell the truth or force them to lie. You can't prevent people from lying. But I get what you're trying to say, right? So with lying, obviously you can express disapproval. You could explain to them the value of honesty, but you can't necessarily force them to tell the truth in the future. But here's the thing, right? If they are monitored and they have no privacy, then they have no reason to tell the truth because they have no reason to prove their honesty, no reason to be honest in the first place because you're going to access all of their information anyway. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, all this stuff I'm talking about, is this just this therapist guy from Ontario, the province we don't like, that is just, saying a bunch of mumbo-jumbo, or is this actually biblical? Sounds like a lot of what Justin is saying is not very biblical at all. But actually, it is. It is very biblical. Does anyone know this image? Huh? What is this? The prodigal son, the parable of the prodigal son. What happened in the parable of the prodigal son? I will tell you. Just in case you forgot. Okay, so there was a rich parent, a righteous parent, an amazing parent. Okay, this parent had 2 kids, but we're going to focus on one just for today. And one of these kids went to his father, and he said, "Father, give me my portion of the inheritance, because I want to go and I want to spend my money on frivolous things, gambling and all sorts of horrible things. Pleasure, the pleasures of the world." Now, do you know what the father did? He got his ship and he said, "What are you doing? This is not how I taught you. This is not how we raised you in the church." No, obviously not, right? No. What did he do? He was brokenhearted because he taught him how to live properly. He loved him. He was a perfect parent. You know why I say he's a perfect parent? Because in this parable that Christ said to the disciples or said to his followers, the parable of the parent, the father, represented God, obviously. And this is the story of repentance and how God will always accept us no matter what. So in this parable, essentially, the father was a perfect father. He was the best parent. So all of you right now are like, you know what, I could be a better parent. I wish I was a better parent in some way. I'm trying my best. But imagine you were perfect. Even if you were perfect, your children will still make mistakes, will still choose to disobey. This is the whole idea, right? So what did this perfect parent do? This perfect parent that represents God, he let him go. He said, okay, you know what? Here you go. And you know the rest, of course. He went, the son went, and he lived a life full of pleasures, wasted all of his father's money, and then felt horrible, had horrible living conditions, and then he was desperate and hopeless, and then he found out that, you know what, the servants in his father's house had a better life than he was living at this point, and then he came back, and then he was accepted by his father. So, and we'll go into that a little bit, but what are some truths about parenting that we can learn from this parable? One is that even if you are the very best parent, like you are the equivalent, you'll never be, but as if you were God, God is the perfect parent to us. Even if you were, sometimes you will disagree with your child will disagree with you. And sometimes you will disapprove of their decisions. And sometimes your child will find a way to do what they want to do. And I think this is something that's very hard for parents, especially in our community. And this is what I hear a lot in my work as a therapist, working with parents, working with kids, working with teens, working with adults, is that eventually children will find a way to do what they want to do. They'll gain their independence someday. So your children will make mistakes, and your children will disappoint you, and your children will hurt you. This is very depressing, I apologize. But these are truths. And your children will get hurt, okay? So, what do you actually control? In the beginning, when they're very young, you control their entire life, right? You control when they eat, when they sleep. You control where they go, who sees them, etc. The older they get, the less control they have. The less control, you have. In the end, when they are adults, the only thing you have that you control is half of your relationship with them. So, I don't have to be here to tell you to protect your kids, even though, please protect your kids. But you already protect your kids. I'm here to say, in addition of protecting your kids, think of them as future adults. And as future adults, they will make mistakes. And you can teach your kids everything, but as sad as it is, your kids will find a way eventually to do what they want to do. And sometimes squeezing them really hard might lead them to do it even more, to want it even more. So, this is the last section, I promise, because I know I'm talking so much. How do we improve the parental relationship? The one piece that stays forever. The control you have in the beginning, 100%, but it decreases, maybe to 0% or 5% or whatever when they're adults. But what remains is the relationship. How do we maintain this relationship? So I'll give you a couple of points, and then we'll open it to questions. And then you can stone me outside because you all disagree with me. I'm just kidding. I'm trying to make you laugh because I know it's a heavy topic. Okay. So have you ever heard of this? Connection before correction. Yeah, some of you have heard of this. So, first, when you notice your child has done something wrong, it's important to meet your child where they are. Like Christ. Christ always met sinners where they were. He didn't tell the adulterous woman, he didn't tell the tax collectors, come and meet me on top of the mountain, and then come begging to me for forgiveness. No, he met them where they were. He met them in their homes. He met them where they were working. He met them even in the temple when they were repenting. He met them where they were. He spoke to them as a loving parent would. I'm going to say an equal in a social way. Not obviously, Christ is not equal to anyone, but you get what I mean by that. And also, when your child has done something wrong, it's important to start with curiosity, to open with curiosity, to lead with curiosity, before the judgment, before the shaming, before the punishment. Curiosity. What do I mean by curiosity? I mean having a conversation. Okay, why did you do this? That's obvious, right? That's a big question. But also, what made you think this is a good idea? How did you feel after you did this? What do you think the consequences are of this? You're asking them a lot of questions. You're getting to understand their way of thinking. And asking questions can get them to get to the answer you want to tell them, but it comes from them. And when it comes from them, it's a lot more powerful because they came to the conclusion. Yeah, you know what? I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, you know what? That made my friend really upset, or that made my sister really upset. Or yeah, you know what? Or how would you feel if someone did that to you? Yeah, you know what? If someone did that to me, I really wouldn't like that. Okay. Do you think it's something you'll do again? I'm going to try not to do it again. Instead of, bad, don't do that. That's wrong. That'll hurt other people. Shib. No. That's a joke, hopefully. It's important to validate their feelings. What do I mean by this? So your kids, you love them so much. You see so much good in them. They are a part of you and a part of your spouse, right? So they have a good spirit in them, but they're making mistakes. And so maybe there's a part of them that chose to do something wrong because there's something that to them seemed like a good idea, right? Children are looking for, obviously, fun. They're looking for pleasure, but they're looking for connection. They're looking for friendship. They're looking for excitement. They're looking for popularity. They're looking for lots of different things that make sense that you yourself are probably looking for too, or used to look for. So it makes sense. There's always something behind why they did it that makes sense. It doesn't justify what they did. It doesn't make it okay, but understanding the whole side can be beneficial. Also, learn about their hobbies. I know this doesn't relate to them doing something wrong, but this is something that makes such a difference in the relationship you have with your kids. Your kids have interests, have hobbies, things that they're excited about. If you are able to connect with them on those levels, that can make a world of a difference. In the other things that they do right and wrong, the important things. Because you have that relationship with them where they get to share with you what excites them. If you can, spend some time, not all the time because you're busy, spend some time doing things that they enjoy doing with them, if you're able, obviously to a certain extent. And lead by example with kindness and understanding. And then the hope is that they will be more likely to share with you the truth, honesty, right? And they're more likely, this is what you want, to hear your perspective, right? If you have a relationship with them, they're more likely to be open to your perspective, okay? And they're more likely to have a productive discussion with you, which is what you want. And they're more likely to make better decisions, right? Okay, I know, this is like, who is this guy? I disagree with everything he's saying. It's not just me. There's research behind this. Okay, I'm not just here saying a bunch of things. I proved to you it's biblical, now I'm going to prove to you it's scientific, okay? There's a meta-analysis. Anyone know what a meta-analysis is? No? Okay. So in research, scientists will do a study, and they'll study hundreds or thousands of people, right? And that's a study, one study, right? A meta-analysis is where scientists will look at all or almost all of the studies that were done. So there's a specific paper that was published, which is a meta-analysis of how many? 1,435 studies. So 1,435 studies. Each of these studies had hundreds or thousands of parents and children that they studied. So we're talking like 100,000 parents, okay? Lots of studies. Basically what they found is that this style of parenting that I'm offering to you, where you have a strong relationship with your child, but you still are strict with what's right and wrong, what we call authoritative parenting, is a lot better in terms of the outcomes for your children than authoritarian parenting, which is a lot more punishment and shame and control, and there's not that level of warmth. Okay? So there's some research behind this. Okay? All right, so last slide. To kind of put it all together. So instead of telling children where to go, what you can do is you can teach your children what makes a place worth attending. And instead of deciding with whom children spend time, you can also teach children what makes a person worth their time. Instead of only controlling how children spend their time, you could show children all the wonderful things they can do with their time. Instead of picking their careers, you can teach them what's important in a career, what's important in life. Instead of proving to them that you know better, you can also be a worthy role model. Instead of just controlling, you can also teach. Instead of only focusing on their behaviors, you can focus on the relationship, which is the only thing that lasts. So instead of only protecting, you can invest in their future. All right? So in conclusion, to summarize, the world is not the enemy, it is a playing field. Children are not only precious little eggs that we put in a cage, they're also future adults. So it's important to protect early, foster growth later by letting them make some mistakes. But it is a difficult process in the middle. If we squeeze too much, we might lose them. And in the end, the only thing you have left is the relationship. So you control 50% of the relationship. But you are the leader of that relationship. And you are already doing your best. Well done. So thank you for being amazing parents. All right? And that's it. Let's go to questions. Any questions, comments, frustrations? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Right, it's as if yelling is the only thing that works, right?